Thank you very much, everyone. I am at loss on how to start my appreciation tonight. But let me first and foremost apologize on behalf of my wife and kids that they couldn't make it here tonight because, as you all know, in America, families are divided along all kinds of things. So tonight my son is playing a soccer game between the state of New Jersey and another state. And my daughter, as you guys are aware, is a musician, so she's practicing somewhere, her next song. And my wife has to drive the son down, but she sends a profound appreciation to the group that put this together. I want to thank Bukola Ofe, who I've known for a long time. My relationship with him predates even the US. We met while we were in Nigeria. Mume Aborishade Baba, who was one of my inspirations, is actually in journalism because he used to publish a newspaper known as June 12th during the Abiola June 12th struggle. And when Buki was reading my bio here, I felt like I was applying for asylum all over again. But truth be told, when I had to return to Nigeria, I realized what the Nigerian government was trying to do by restricting me to Nigeria. I had to go apply all over again to get a visa to come to the US. It's known as SB1, Senior Boy Visa. Yes. And what practically it says is that if you have been away from the US for more than a year and you are a holder of a green card, you are out of status. So, and they're very clear even in the application that you can be denied the visa. So that means I may not have been allowed to come back to the US ever again. And I thought about this while I was going through all this, that I may not make it back to the US because I went through a lot. But it wasn't until I had to go apply for that visa that I realized that that was one of their intentions. So I wasn't aware that you lose your status after 2 years completely. If you have been gone for a year, they'll give you a foil, which is, that one is guaranteed. But if you've been gone for more than a year, you lose status, and they're at liberty not to grant you another visa to re-enter the US, no matter how strong your own case is. So I had to go back and do another medical examination. Yes, I had to attend to another visa interview, explaining ties that I have in the US. And of course, when they asked me about my ties, I didn't even mention my wife and children. I started mentioning the people on Facebook who are defending me. So not to know my people in New York. Well, I was lucky that this visa was granted, and I quickly returned to the US to be with my family. I left my kids as children. When I came back 5 years later, they had become adults. Yes. And I just had to be understanding them to understand where they are in the scheme of things after having been gone for 5 years. This is not something one can describe just standing here today. But my appreciation goes to all of you. If I could, I'll mention all of you one by one. But there are a lot of people who I want to mention who are not even here present today, who fought very hard on my behalf. There are people who actually gave up, thinking that it was just waste of time, that I'm not going to come back. There are people who told me several times, calls and said, I don't know why these people haven't killed you. Yes, because they were close to killing me several times. The video you saw here was just a video put together by somebody to actually mask an emotional situation. I don't want anybody to be crying here. Otherwise, I've seen where I was shot with a federal riot gun and I was bleeding. That was part of it. Confrontation with the police, with the DSS. And by the time I was done with it, everything also came full circle. What is full circle? The powerful people that were saying Sowore cannot get out suddenly became powerless. People like Buhari had gone back to his 150 cows. The Attorney General had become a regular visitor to the EFCC. Even the current governor of Kogi State, who is now on the run, arrested our guys for pasting Buhari must go posters in Kogi and kept them for 76 days in prison. And said they will not release them until Buhari is gone. Now, he's the one that is on the run. So, what this tells you is that there is no harm in being resilient. Because as long as your hands are clean, you will survive all your enemies. I want to make a revelation here. That when I was in detention and after 2 weeks, the Buhari regime sent a delegation to me. I've never heard that before. They asked that I should apologize to Buhari for scaring him. That the revolution now protests made it feel like we're trying to overthrow his government. And one guy who stood out in that meeting was a guy called Funtua. He said, look, Sowore, nobody has ever defeated a government before. And you will not be the first. I stood up and said, I'm going to defeat you people. And they left in anger. That delegation included Funtua, Garba Shehu, the owner of Arise TV, Obiagbena, and the publisher of Vanguard newspaper. By the time I got out, I was told that it's not only Funtua that is after me, that Buhari's chief of staff, Abakiari, was the one who is actually directing the judge to ensure that I don't get out of detention. And that the central bank governor, at that time, Emefiele, was the one funding the process. I was told this. Lo and behold, by the time I got out of detention, Abakiari died. Yes. It wasn't up to a year later. The guy who said I cannot defeat the government, Mr. Funtua, was defeated by death. He also died. Fast forward, a few years later, Emefiele is sleeping in the same cell I was sleeping in 2019 at the DSS. He spent more time in that detention center than I spent. And he's still going from pillar to post as we speak. And I'm sure that if Buhari would not die, he will also face disgrace before the end of his life. So, pretty much everybody that was involved in the conspiracy somehow has faced their own karma. But the problem with Nigeria is not to be expecting karma. Because karma can also be painfully slow. Yes, these people ought to be dealt with very swiftly, quickly, in a just, fair, and revolutionary manner. There is no reason why somebody will do something like Buhari did and be allowed to have a peaceful retirement. I mean, people like Donald Trump did not even do 1% of what the Buhari did. And they are shoving him from hush money trial to, all kinds of trials. Buhari killed people, he rigged the election, they destroyed the Nigerian economy. And guess what? They're walking around free. And somebody like Bobrisky, who they claim was spreading naira on the floor, was sent to jail for 6 months. What about the people who destroyed the naira? The people who decided that they want to change the color of the naira in the middle of an election so that money would not be available for people to go and vote. You left all of them. So I could stand here, like I said, and go on and tell you the story of my experience in Nigeria. But it is better told in different formats. One, possibly in a book, and also in a movie. It will make an amazing movie, whether I'm alive or not, I don't care, but it's unbelievable what I went through in the last 5 years.